referral.com. Status connected. Facebook live connected. Rumble connected. Twitter X connected. LinkedIn connected. This is the booth. We are cleared to go live. Send the signal to the studio and go live.
List with Elizabeth show, ready to go live in 3, 2.
When you think selling and buying a home, when I think real estate, I think List with Elizabeth. Elizabeth Kline. Elizabeth Ann Kline.
And here's the host of the List with Elizabeth show, Elizabeth Kline.
Hello, everybody. I love that intro. I don't know if you do, but I literally love that intro. I dance every time it comes on, and I'm a dancer, so that makes sense. I am Elizabeth Kline. I'm a residential real estate specialist here in the Northern Virginia area, every day helping people buy and sell residential property, condominiums, townhomes, single-family homes, you name it. I'm here to help. This show is to help guide buyers and sellers alike in that process. I want to just let you all know, we in the industry do this every day, right? You may only buy or sell a home once in a blue moon. So we don't expect you to remember anything from this show. But the one nugget I can give you is if you are going to buy or sell a home anywhere in the USA, you need to align yourself with an agent that is professional, that knows what they're doing, that will guide you and will help you with each step of this process. So if you're in the Northern Virginia area, please feel free to reach out to me at 703-829-LIST. If you are not in the Northern Virginia area and you'd like an agent referred to you, reach out to me as well. I will make sure to plug you in with one of our top agents through our agent referral network. All right. So today's show is super important to have. I have an amazing guest. His name is Wade Vender Molen. He is with Pruitt Title here in the Northern Virginia area, and he is the DC title guy. So Wade and I are going to chat with you all today, mostly all the buyers out there, about the mindset that you need to have if you are going to be looking for a home in this marketplace. So I'd like to welcome Wade to the show, and we will. Hi, how you doing today?
Good, doing great. Thanks.
Great. If you want to tell everyone a little bit about yourself and how you fit into the picture as far as real estate.
Sure. Yeah. Wade Vender Molen. I'm the Senior Vice President of Business Development at Pruitt Title. I've been in the title business since 2005, so been in the business for a while. I was in Phoenix, Arizona initially, so I saw a great market, then I saw a crashed market, and then I saw a good market in Arizona. In DC, and now we're in a different market now. So I've been around for a while, and I work a lot with agents, just like you, and I help them create more opportunities to get buyers and sellers and more opportunities with online exposure. So I'm here to help and support our realtor partners.
Awesome. Thanks so much. So as I mentioned, we're going to be talking about the buyer's mindset. And buyers, you may not have even considered this as step one. This is truly step one. This is before getting pre-approved for a loan. This is before opening Zillow and starting to search for houses. Your mindset is going to make or break your successful transaction and how you go through the process, right? Is it going to be stress-free, or is it going to be full of angst and pitfalls and whatnot? So Wade, I'm going to let you share some thoughts on this, and then I'm going to also share some as far as how I help prepare buyers' mindsets.
Sure. Well, I think, definitely mindset is the most important thing. I mean, we're in a different market than what we've been in quite some time, where buyers really have to have a certain level of mindset entering, when they want to purchase, knowing that if the house, as you can speak to, if the house is desirable, even in an average location, there's going to be more than likely more than one offer. They have to set the expectation of what it's going to take to really win that property. And it's not like it was, right, where it's one offer on one house and you're negotiating with the seller and eventually you kind of come to a landing spot and that's it. That, you got to go in there knowing that you might have to put your best foot forward from the start, right? And you might have to give up some things, right, in terms of what you're willing to have in terms of contingencies and things like that. So, I mean, just going into the mindset of like you're kind of going into battle, right? Like I played college basketball, and you can't come out in the game, slow-footed and not focused, because then you're going to be behind early. You have to come out there running and gunning from the beginning, and that's the mindset that a buyer has to have in this market. And I know it's tough to think about, right? Because that's not the mindset of a lot of people, but that's where we are.
So when I sit with buyers, this is so critical, Wade. And we can preach about this all day long, but I have a background as a CPA, so I like numbers. So I do pull the market statistics every single month in our market. I pull them by price points and I pull them by region. So for example, when I do sit down with buyers to help them understand this from the data point of view, I will show them an absorbency rate. So this was pulled in March 1st. I pull it on the 1st of the month, every single month. And for example, I pulled Springfield and Burke market statistics. So what we're going to look at, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, right? This would be something I would sit and talk to buyers about, is if you're looking for something in the price range of $750,000 to $900,000, currently on the market, there are 6 homes for sale. Okay. Now we need to know what the marketplace does with 6 homes for sale. Is that a lot? Is that a little? How does that work in your marketplace? So it's very important. Again, you work with an agent that explains this to you so you can see the data. This is not just an agent saying, oh, I need you to be aggressive and do all this stuff. This is why. Okay. So with those 6 homes, we look back the past 3 months. Well, over the past 3 months, the market bought 31 of those properties in that price point in this area. So we divide by 3 for easy math. So each month the market can sell 10 to 11 properties, and it's got 6. Easy math, right? Now my little second grader Sarah can understand, hey, there's more people trying to buy houses than there are houses to sell. Right. That's what's driving this need for your mindset to be, look, I can't just go out, see a house I like, sleep on it for a week, come back, negotiate, the price down. You see a house you like, we need to move quickly. We need to be decisive. We need to be ready to be decisive.
Right. So I think where having a top professional agent comes in is, one, not only explaining that, but putting you in the right mindset from the beginning of that's what you have to do. Because as you can probably speak to, Elizabeth, is that a lot of, there's home buyers out there that when you say, if you find something you like, you got to be decisive. And that can cause hesitancy because people don't want to potentially make a quick decision on something that is expensive. But again, that's where having someone like you comes in to explain to them what's necessary, but also how you can guide and support them, right? And how you can help them make the right decisions, so they're not making rash, bad ones. But I mean, it's like if I went to the car dealership and it said, hey, look, my car broke down and I need a new car and I have to have something by the end of the day, right? And some people are like, fine, I'm good with that. And other people are like, oh my God, that's so much pressure. Well, how do I move forward? Yeah. Right. So that's why we have to have people like you, right, to help them along the way so they can be supported.
And that is why, again, if you are working with an agent and they have not sat down with you and gone through what I call a buyer's consultation, giving you information on the marketplace, explaining when you're going to need to be aggressive, giving you examples of times when maybe there is going to be some wiggle room. So this is not a blanket statement. There are always going to be exceptions. I mean, not many in our market right now, but if we do find a house that's been sitting on the market over 10 days, 10 days is a long time in our market. there is now maybe a window of opportunity to have a little wiggle room, to get some contingencies on that offer. So if you don't have someone guiding you, you're kind of going in blind, kind of trying to figure out, what do I like? What do I don't like? So the first thing you want to do is, again, prepare your mind. Remember why you're buying the house. What's your why? Are you trying to build equity? Are you trying to create a place that you have pride of ownership? Like, why are you buying a house? Because when things get stressful or rushed or, pressured, then you're going to be able to say, okay, remember, I'm doing this because our family's growing. Our townhouse is too small. We really need this. Let me stick with it, So please just set your mind from the start.
Yeah, one thing that I hear a lot, obviously, because I'm coming in from it on the other side, is working with a lot of agents, is this happens all the time. It happened over the weekend where an agent says to me, hey, we wrote an offer for Pruitt Title. It's an amazing offer. We offered all this stuff. We're definitely going to win. And then they don't, right? Mm-hmm. So obviously the agent is not happy, right? But obviously I'm sure you've gone through that as well. How do you talk to your buyer after they get emotionally high thinking we got this in the bag, and then for whatever reason they don't? How do you, what's the process that you follow to consult them or talk to them?
I don't let that happen. Every single time I write an offer, I tell my people, look, this is a fantastic offer. I cannot guarantee it will be the best. I have seen everything. When people really understand the supply and demand, they understand the growth of the equity over time in getting into the market, and they see a nice house that's going to fit their needs. Some people have already lost 9 offers, and this is their 10th one they're writing, and they're going hard. So just because in your mind you're going aggressive does not mean it's going to be aggressive enough. So I literally never let my people get there. Now, they can still go there in their heads, but it's not coming from me, right? Mm-hmm. And the one thing that I have noticed has truly been the case for the last 10 years that I've been doing this is if you do write an offer on a home and it does not get selected, the home you end up with ends up being one you love even more than the first one you lost. I literally cannot think of one instance where that didn't happen. So I think too, there is a reason for everything happening, right? I had a buyer just a few weeks ago who house came on the market. We went out to see it within 4 hours. In the first 3 hours, another agent went out with their buyers, with a home inspector, had done all their due diligence. They were leaving before we even got to the door. And this was hours that it had just hit the market. And we did write an offer on that house as fast as we could, but the other folks had a 4-hour jump, and the sellers took that offer. And my lady was like, you know what? I really love that house, but I don't know if I was super comfortable with the way the cul-de-sac was laid out. So sometimes, again, things happen for a reason. The next house we went out and saw, we were able to get her through successfully. She was ready to go. She knew what she had to do. She understood the market, the heat of the market, and we wrote a nice aggressive offer, and we were able to get her house. So yeah, so keeping focus is definitely, this is just a numbers game, right? You write enough offers, you're going to get a house. So right. Don't lose hope. Don't even pop the champagne until you are at closing and you're being handed those keys. Okay? There's a process. You go under contract. Then there's a window of time between that and settlement where you actually become the homeowner. Things sometimes happen in here. Not that it to the buyer's fault or even necessarily the seller's fault. Wade, what are some instances where title issues have come up that have delayed settlement? I mean, things that no one's doing on purpose, just paperwork wise, things that happen to derail a deal.
Unreleased trusts. Let's see here. Judgments, liens. People that the prior owner didn't have a title insurance policy, and there was a title issue that came up, and then they got to deal with that. And whether that's judicially, where they didn't buy a title insurance policy when they bought that property, and now there is a title issue, and it is theirs, or maybe it's not theirs. It was a prior owner, but because they don't have a policy, they're not covered, so they have to go hire a lawyer and go to court and try to get a judicial release of that lien. There's a title issue on the property, and the prior title company that did the closing is now defunct. They're out of business. and we have to find out, and the people that are selling can't find their title policy, so they don't know who the underwriter was. We have a deal with that. What's today? 27th, closing today. Supposed to close today. Have the same situation on a property, and our attorneys had to get involved and call First American Title underwriting to find the policy and deal with that. But there are things on the title side that can cause that issue. I had a deal about a year ago. A guy, this is a good story. Client of mine bought a property, $900,000 cash, 10-day close. There was a $60,000 judgment on title. The seller said, "It's not mine." It wasn't his. What happened is the guy bought the property 10 years prior as a short sale. Well, short sales take a time to close. Well, they did a title search here. Everything was fine. Well, there was time that passed before they closed. In the middle, there was a judgment that got put on there. And when they went to close, they never updated the title work for the gap. So the guy bought the policy, closed, title issue. And then, of course, we had to call Old Republic Title underwriting, and they gave us an indemnity letter saying that they were going to take care of it and we could close on time, and we did. But I mean, it pays to buy a title insurance policy, because if you don't and those title issues come up, it can really cause a wrench in things.
Yeah. Another example, I was representing some buyers, and the sellers were absolutely lovely. Everything was going just fine. Everyone was cooperating and doing what they were supposed to do. And, I got a phone call from the settlement company. So a company like Pruitt Title, and they said that there was an issue when the sellers bought the house 10 years ago. The people that they bought it from was a husband and wife. Well, what happened was at settlement, only the husband signed all of the documents. I don't know how that slipped, because whoever's on title both parties should be signing. So the folks who bought the house 10 years ago are now selling it 10 years later to my buyers. Title company steps in and says they never really owned the house because the original transaction wasn't complete. So there was a big concern that they wouldn't be able to find the wife that didn't sign. Maybe she had passed away. Maybe she had moved away. Maybe she had disappeared. Luckily, they were able to track her down. She was more than happy to come in and do what she had to do so that piece was complete. And then my buyers could go ahead and complete their side. So again, even if you go under contract, don't pop that champagne until settlement is done. It's recorded in the courthouse, right? And you have the keys and you are in the house. That's when you celebrate.
That's right.
There's a whole process to this. But let's get back to mindset. I think that, again, that's a critical thing. Wade, you were going to talk a little bit about setting the buyer's expectations.
Yeah. Well, I mean, setting expectations with buyers. I mean, like I said, I played college sports. So it's like, before every game, coach comes in, we have a game plan, right? We talk about what we're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
We've practiced it. We're going to execute it. I mean, that's what needs to happen. I mean, that's what top agents do with their clients. They don't just say, "Hey, look, when you find something on Trulia or Zillow, call me. We'll go look at it. And then if you want it, we'll write an offer." It's like, you have to kind of have a pre-game huddle and say, "Look, let's put together a plan of action of what we're going to do to, this is what the offer might look like. This is probably what we're going to have to do in this situation," right? Not all situations are the same, right? You probably need to waive contingencies here. Maybe you don't over here. This house is listed slightly under value. The listing agent did that for whatever reason to drive up offers. Mm-hmm. So just because it's listed here, that's not the actual value. It's a little more. So you got to go higher than the offer price. And put together that expectation of, just because there's a number on a house doesn't mean that's what it's going to sell for, right? And you're probably going to be competing, right? I want to let you know up front, and here's what we got to do to win. But I think if you have obviously a top agent like yourself who's putting together that game plan and setting those expectations up front, and like you said, people buy things on emotion. They buy property, especially on emotion. Okay, my wife and I wrote an offer on a property in Vienna last March. And my wife was in the house for 30 minutes and she said, "We're buying this house," right? We weren't even looking to buy a house. And we offered $110,000 over asking. And my wife thought we had the house, and she was literally like thinking about moving in mentally. And I told her not to do that. And we lost, right? The winning offer was $200,000 over asking. And, it is what it is. But I think, setting those expectations up front of what it's going to take, but also, you know what, if you don't win, okay, we'll go back to the drawing board and we'll come up with a new game plan to win the next house. But that's what it's going to take. Do not wing it and say, hey, if you find something you like, or if I send you some searches and you see something, let me know. We'll go take a look at it. And if you want to write an offer, we will. Like, that's not going to get it done.
Also, I think it's nice for folks to know, on average, buyers look at between 10 to 12 homes before they write an offer. They're not looking at 500. They're not looking at one, right? And that includes going to open houses. That includes, if you started kind of casually looking for homes a year ago and you've seen 6 or 7, when you do sit down with an agent and we go out, you may be ready to write on the first house you see, but your money's only going to go so far in this market, especially. So for example, if you have $500,000 or even $700,000, you're not shopping, you're not comparing the house with the horse stables to the house with the built-in spa. You're comparing 2 houses that have 4 walls and 3 to 4 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms and a kitchen and a quarter acre. I mean, your money's only going to go so far. So don't get so wrapped up in like finding the perfect house. The perfect house is going to be 80% of what you want. That is the perfect house.
Yeah.
You want to focus on location and layout. Everything else can be changed over time. If you like the location, you like the layout, that's a buy. You don't have to look at 100 townhouses. They're all going to essentially be the same, kind of the same layout, kind of the same thing. Find one that works in that capacity, write on it. If you don't get it, on to the next. That's it.
I would say that's probably the best advice because the majority of homeowners over time remodel their house, right? They fix up the kitchen, they redo the bathroom, they paint the walls, they do this, they do that. So, I mean, don't look at the house when you walk into it and say, this is what it's going to be forever, the whole time I ever lived there. Like, the location and the layout are by far and away the most important things, because those two things more than likely can't, or the location can't be changed. The layout could maybe be changed, but harder. But everything else you're probably going to fix up. I mean, my wife and I have been in our house since 2018. We remodeled the kitchen, we redid the basement, we repainted, we put in new light fixtures, we put a Trex deck on the back of the house. Like, we've done a lot to our property, and we're going to remodel our daughter's bathroom this summer. Like, because you're going to make it yours, especially if you're going to live there over a longer period of time. You're going to make it yours anyway. So I think that's amazing advice, that it doesn't have to be like a 10 out of a 10. If it's in the location and the layout is what you want, just secure the property, and then over time you can turn it into whatever you want it to be.
That's actually part of the fun, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, I want this kind of kitchen. And so many times I've taken folks into a home where the sellers have tried to make it look nice. They put maybe brand new carpet, and my buyers look at me and go, we're ripping that out. Carpet. And it's literally brand new carpet. So, look at the big picture, take a step back, take a breath, remember why you want to buy a house, and then, work from there. All right. So Wade, what are some examples where there may be some opportunities for buyers that they don't even know exist?
Well, there's a lot of opportunities for different buyers. I mean, there's opportunities in every market, right? So, the opportunity here is one, as you can speak to, the pathway to wealth is part of the pathways through real estate, right? So even if you're saying, well, look, Wade, these prices are pretty high, like, I don't know, just know that the price that you're paying today, your home is going to be worth more in 3 to 5 years. Like I said, I bought my property for $861 in 2018. And I remember buying that house thinking, oh man, this is expensive. And this is maybe more than we could chew. And if I sold my house today, I could sell it for $1.3 million, right? And so I couldn't imagine buying my house again for $1.3 million, right? I mean,
yes.
Right. So the opportunity is secure the real estate, right? Whether you're buying it as a primary, or there's opportunities to buy properties that are maybe, if you can find it off market, because obviously agents like yourself know homes that are coming on, homes that need to be fixed up a little bit. Maybe you're buying a second property as a rental, right? There are cash flow opportunities in different places, obviously less so if you're buying a turnkey high model property, but there are opportunities there to do that. So when you look at someone's overall portfolio of how they became a millionaire, right, or whatever it is, that doesn't happen by getting a paycheck and throwing it into Wells Fargo and just having to just sit there. That isn't how it works. It does not.
Darn.
Right. You have to diversify your portfolio, and part of that has to be real estate. So even if you think you're buying a property at a certain price point today that you think it will appreciate over time. Even in down markets, over long periods of time, the homes come up in value, right? Over a long period of time. Just like if you look at COVID, the stock market went down to 19,000 and people were panicking thinking that their entire life savings was over. And now we're almost reaching 40,000 in the stock market. So over a long period of time, it's a great opportunity for any buyer to get into a home and secure that real estate as a pathway to wealth.
Absolutely. And there's also opportunities when, let's say you buy your starter home, let's say it's a condo, and that's not going to support you forever, right? So let's say you buy it as a single person and then life goes on, you end up getting married, having kids, whatever the case, you need a bigger property. You can then rent that out and buy a bigger home. So you can start stepping, right, property to property. And if you do need to sell an investment property, there's a way to roll that into a larger investment property and avoid the tax on that. So that's called a 1031 exchange. Totally different topic. But yes, there are so many opportunities that exist. Also, just a little shout out to for my brokerage, Sampson Properties. We are the largest brokerage in the Northern Virginia area, and we have more off-market opportunities than any other brokerage out there. So what that means is when somebody comes to one of us at Sampson Properties on the listing side and signs a listing agreement with us, at that point, we are allowed to advertise that in our office, right? So amongst our 6,000 agents. So there are a lot of opportunities off market that I can help provide to buyers as well. This stuff you're not going to see on Zillow or Realtor.com. So lots of opportunities out there.
And the thing is, what buyers need to know, there are sellers out there who are willing to take off-market offers, right? They're willing to sell the property to a buyer before it even hits the MLS. And that happens. We get contracts that come in all the time that my client will send to me and say, hey, look, this was an off-market. The seller was willing to, the buyer said, hey, what's it going to take to not go to MLS? The seller said this price or this situation. They matched it and they were able to secure the property.
Yes. Yeah, I'm actually been very, very happy with when I have a buyer need that I'm sort of stuck with someone, I can send out, a note to the office and say, hey, this is what I'm looking for. And just a month ago, I had a lovely agent reach out. She said, I have exactly what you put in your post. It's off market. We were planning to go on the market in about 3 weeks. My sellers would love to have your folks come by and look at it. And it was a win-win, and everyone, we went under contract. The sellers didn't have to stage. They didn't have to leave the property. They didn't have to figure out what they were going to do with their dogs or their kids. They didn't have people, rummaging through their house for the showings. They didn't have to go through open houses. I mean, it can be stressful as a seller to go through all that. So there are sellers that are willing to forgo going on the market and taking a nice, clean offer, just like that.
Yeah, well, it's funny. They call it fake living, right? Because when you're listing your house, it's like your house has to be perfect. And then someone's going to see it. Oh, we got to clean it and we got to make sure, but then you got to leave and you're gone for X amount of time. And, it's a whole thing where like your house looks like it never looked previously, right? Because it has to look pristine. So some people are like, I don't want to deal with that. I don't want people trouncing through my property. I'm willing to take an offer off market.
Yeah, especially, there are circumstances where there may be someone in the home that's elderly and can't, move around too often. I had a seller and her mom was immobile and she was going to be in the living room for showings. It was not ideal. So there are situations where we're going to be able to help buyers plug in with sellers and make it a win-win for everybody. All right. What do you say, Wade, when someone says, how can I time the market? What's the best strategy to do that? What do you have to say about that?
It's so funny. I would say, when's the best time to have a kid?
Woo!
Right?
Nice answer.
It's the same thing. There is no right time. You just do, right? You just do, right? And
Yep.
even it's like, even when you know your child is being born on a certain, roughly on this day, my kid's going to be born, you've never had a child before, and you can read all the books and you can watch videos and you can talk to your friends, and nothing's going to prepare you for that moment, that when you have to live it, right? And become a parent for the first time. It's the same thing. You don't time the market. You just get into the market, right? You just get in, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because if you could time the market, everyone would have known COVID was going to come, and everyone would have known the day that the rates would have fell to 3%, and everyone would have known, but they didn't, right? So, I mean, you just get in there and do, right? If someone bought a house 6 months prior to COVID, guess what? They did a good job, but their rate was higher. But then guess what they did? They refinanced it and they got the rate that they wanted. So, I mean, over time, the market ebbs and flows. And if you buy now, you'll be able to refinance by the end of the year with potential rate cuts from the Fed, right? Or even in the next year. But you just get in, right? There is no timing of the market. And if you somehow the stars do align and you throw a Hail Mary and you do somehow time the market, congratulations. But that's very far and few between. You just get in and do it.
Again, with inventory this low, right? Going back to our market statistics, it is harder to find a house that you like than it is to try to try to feel like, okay, I really want to buy something in June or July because that'll work best for me money wise. But in June or July, there may be no houses that you like. So if you find something you like in February, that's the time. It is harder to find a house that you'd like than it is to try to plug into your perfect time schedule. Also, just like Wade had mentioned, it's the equity build over time is always gonna, it's always gonna be better getting in sooner. So it's time in the market, not timing the market. I love that phrase. It's so true.
That's a really good phrase. Yeah, I mean, it's almost like however you meet your spouse. Like I think I told you on the thing, I met my wife in Las Vegas at 4 o'clock in the morning. I mean, I didn't time that, right? It just happened. Right?
It just happened.
A lot of times when you're looking to date someone is when you don't find someone, and when you're not looking to date someone, that's when you do find someone. So it's very similar with that. I mean, if you see a property that you like and you're ready to move forward, right? Don't say, well, like you said, I think that's a great point. Hey, I'll wait till summer, because guess what? That the property that you want in the location that you want in the school district that you want might not be there. And then you're like, gotta wait longer.
Yes. There's also a little phrase, I think this came from the lender side, and it says, date the rate and marry the house, right? Have you heard that one?
I have, yeah.
Right? So the rate is going to come and go, the interest rate on your loan. It can be refinanced, it can be changed, but the house is more permanent. You're going to marry the house. So you find the house you like, do not worry about the interest rate. If they go down, then you refinance.
Yeah, and not only that, but there's other loan programs. There's other loan programs where you can change the rate initially. So you don't have to get a 30-year fixed rate, because you don't need a rate fixed for 30 years. You can get a 7-1, a 5-1, or a 10-1 ARM, and you can get an adjustable rate mortgage. And even if you get a 7-1 ARM, which means the rate's fixed for 7 years before it potentially adjusts, you're more than likely going to refinance that mortgage within 7 years anyway. So yeah, there's opportunities.
Yes. Absolutely. And I'm actually shocked how many of my buyers have already sold. I mean, I've been doing this about 10 years, and I'd probably say 40% of all the people I placed in homes have already sold and moved on to something bigger or moved to a different area. So people staying in a home for 30 years, at least in this area, is very uncommon. I think it's 5 years is the average people stay in a home.
Yeah.
In the Northern Virginia area. So, all right, let's hit your last point here. Experienced buyers from other markets. So you're coming in from New York, you're coming in from Tennessee, you're coming in from Nebraska, and you're hitting the Washington, D.C. market. What happens then?
Well, so that's interesting. Like, I'm from Iowa, right? So Yep. I remember when I bought my first condo in Alexandria with my wife, I think we paid $559,000. And I remember I called my mom and I told her that I bought this property, and she's like, well, how much did you pay for it? And I told her how much I paid for it. And she goes, oh my God, there's no house in the world worth that much money. And I joked and I said to her, I go, Mom, you're right. I didn't buy a house. I bought a condo.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Because in Iowa, where I'm from, if you paid that much money for a house, you're living in the Disney castle, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Same.
So I think the mindset of buyers also needs to have some sort of a pregame huddle and some sort of an adjustment, knowing that, if you're coming from San Francisco, LA, New York, you're not going to have a problem because you're coming to like-minded markets. But if you're moving here from, Kansas, Iowa, even some parts of Texas or whatever, that you're going to have a little bit of a sticker shock. I moved here from Scottsdale, Arizona, where I bought my first condo there for $134,000, and my payment was like $750, I think.
Wow.
And when I moved here, my wife and I rented an apartment in the city, and I think our rent was $37.50. So my half of rent was double my mortgage payment in Arizona, and that took a little while to get used to. But you know what? I got used to it. But I think people need to be prepared that if they're moving to this area and they're not from some of those other higher end markets, that there is going to be an adjustment.
Also, just going back to my national referral network, every market is different. I am surprised sometimes when people come from other states and they'll say, Elizabeth, when I bought in fill in the blank, North Carolina, wherever it was, if we put forth an earnest money deposit and then we voided on home inspection, we lost that money. I mean, there are quirks in every market that are different. That is not the case here in Northern Virginia. Another one I've heard is, I think from New York, they do lead-based paint testing on every property, and that is a big, big deal. Whereas here, I haven't ever seen one done, in 10 years. So just understanding price points will be different, contracts will be different, laws will be different. Please align yourself with professionals in your market to guide you. You don't have to remember all of this, but the more you know, the better. And Wade, is there anything else you want to say? We're probably going to wrap up here.
Yeah, I would say that if you are a buyer entering the market, talk to someone like Elizabeth, right? Partner with people like that, right? Because here's the thing, what you need is education, right?
Yes.
And they're going to educate you not only on the process, but their experiences, right? In my experience, this wins. In my experience, this is going to maybe not work out for you, right? So you need to have people that don't wing it, that do this every day, that know the market, that understand the processes, because the more education you have, the more prepared you're going to be. And then the more prepared you are, the likelihood of not only of you securing the property that you want, but you're going to be happy and low stress. People are very stressful buying property. And a lot of times that's because they're not partnered with agents who actually give them the right education. So then they hit roadblocks and they don't understand why. So talk to the right folks, and you're going to have a lower stress level when buying a house.
Excellent. Wade, thank you so much for joining us today. Wade Vender Molen, the DC title guy. I love your catchphrase. Super catchy, actually. I will never forget that. Please feel free to reach out to Wade if you have any questions on settlement, on title insurance. Really, he's just a wealth of knowledge. And certainly feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions on buying or selling a home. Well, thanks so much, guys. I hope you all have a great day, and we will catch you next time on the List with Elizabeth show.
When you're ready to sell your home, don't be silly and do it alone. You gotta get Elizabeth on the phone or go to listwithelizabeth.com.